Hopefully you're having a good day. I'm doing this recording to help you through the goal setting process for 2021. So later this week, I'll send out the form for doing this process. And yeah, you can ask me questions after that, but I think watching this video will answer most of those questions. So let me know. The one thing I wanted to show you first is that one of the benefits of doing testing when we do short, medium, and long duration testing for the bike and for the run is that we can be very specific about goals if we choose to. So again, not everybody wants to be this specific. It's probably the quality engineer in me and the coach, but I do like to be specific. So for me, I make this matrix. I've done it for another person that joined our squad. And it's just you need to have the good data. So for some of us, this will be very applicable, others not so applicable. So anyways, you can create these slides, which I would help you through if you want it. Again, we'd have to look back at your data. So this is looking at my personal best in 2020 for different events or tests. And then I'm looking for a percent improvement. This is for the bike and for the run, because we have power on the run. And the swim, I use this kind of Excel-based matrix that many of you have seen. Here I'm looking at test duration, and I'm looking at speed during that test, pace per 100 yards, and I'm looking at distance per stroke. And I'm also looking at stroke rate. It's trying to keep the balance of all those when we test, and if we start up, of course, going too high with the stroke rate and we're slipping through the water, we might start to lose the distance per stroke. So anyways, all that goes into goal setting. So again, this data isn't necessary for goal setting. I just find it to be beneficial. I use it if I have it. But it is one of the reasons why I do want testing to be specific. So we can have a good baseline and we can measure improvements. I had this for mountain bike power too, but it's a little bit different for me for mountain biking because that just started in April. I don't have as much quality data as I would like. So the top of the goal setting form, pretty straightforward, right? But the season goals. So for 2021, what are your season goals? Mine, it's raced very well in Xterra Worlds, and I've defined that as top 10 in age group. I finished 19th the previous year, and it's a 70.3 in less than 5 hours. I've done that once, but it was a high cliff with a shorter run, trail run, kind of weird. So I'd rather do that on the road. Came up a few minutes short at the YAR 70.3 this year. So again, I don't mind if I do this at YAR or if it ends up being an Ironman branded event. Long-term goals, you can list a couple there if they make sense for you. They do for me. And then are the season and long-term goals specific, challenging but realistic, observable, within my control, something I'm committed to. So again, we want to have good solid goals, something that makes us excited, maybe just a little scared. And we can actually measure those, we can control them, and we're committed to it. And over on the right side, you can go ahead and think about why these goals are important to you and how they'll bring a higher quality of life, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So it's good to get your head wrapped around the why. So hopefully that makes sense. No big changes there. Pretty straightforward. There's a little reference data you'll see on the right side. I just have my 2019 Xterra Worlds data there. Really might not be all that useful other than what place I finished in each leg of the event and the overall. Because really with off-road triathlon, you never know. It could rain and it could be just terrible. So times would be out the window. And then I break it down into limiters and training objectives. So you can review these too. You don't need to be this specific. Remember, I got that data for testing and from WKO, and we'll work through that if you want specific data-driven goals. But the basics are pretty straightforward, right? I got my two season goals, and they are spread far enough apart that I can do truly 2 peaks for the season. Sorry about my cat cleaning herself, but she's going to town here. So anyways, hopefully you are entertained by that. Yeah, so 70.3 in the first half, And then External Worlds in the second half. That race isn't until October 31st. So for me, it makes perfect sense to have two season goals. Limiters being swim speed and endurance. Those are my big issues from racing the way I want to race. So I have 3 swims each week with the current long swim going from 30 minutes to 50 minutes by February 1st. And this is staying that throughout the summer. Use the swim video that I do, effortless swim videos and tutorials. Use those swim cards for strength training and weekly focus swimming to meet the time goals. And then I have those time goals. And they're roughly to get 4% faster in the pool and then bring that to Yarra Park swims, even though we can't measure distance or actually speed very well out there. Do the best to see an improvement from year to year. But the pool is where it all makes sense because at least we can measure specific times and paces, stroke rates and such. And then I do something similar for the run speed and endurance and the bike speed and endurance. So again, you could have different limiters. It's always a kind of splitting hairs. I don't know that run speed is my limiter or bike speed, but I can tell you endurance is for those two to some extent. And for the swim, it's speed and endurance. So again, you'll be able to read these. I won't read them to you, but again, they're really in context of me wanting to compete and compete as high as I can. Maybe a podium if it's a local 70.3. If it's an Ironman branded, we don't have to worry about the podium, but just to do the best I can to meet my times. For you, it might be complete. So no shame in that, man. If that's what you want to do, you want to complete within time cutoffs. Let's make sure we do that and give you a little room to spare. So that's kind of breaking down your swim, run, and bike to quantify what type of minimums you need to meet and where you were last year and where you want to be this year. And what specifically does it take? Maybe how many times you need to bike, run, swim, and what type of work you think needs to be incorporated. I'll give you another example for run. It's a little bit more endurance based. So you can see I have half marathons as my races of choice to improve on. And I have 3 runs per week in, it should be in 2021. I have a typo here. A fast and a hill run weekly starting March 1st. Probably the first time to get outside. Can do some of that on the treadmill. And then a long run, again outside, starting April 1st of 120 minutes every other week at a minimum. So, you don't need to be real specific. That's a good challenging goal in itself and a training objective. So yeah, break yours down, keep it simple. You can see at the end of the list, I have the supporting element of strength and yoga twice per week from December through April. And then I have that maintenance program going on during the summer once per week. I did pretty good on that in 2020, and I think it made a difference. So I wanted to be very rigorous to that in 2021. So again, that's goals in a nutshell for 2021. I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that this helps ease this process. And again, be as specific as you need to be. Be as, I guess, stretching yourself as much as you believe your time will allow, and come up with really smart goals. And then the objectives can flow from there fairly easy. And if you get stuck, just ask me for help. Thanks for your time and enjoy the process.